Fairy Tail gets a lot of hate. It almost became a trend hating on Fairy Tail at this point, even for those who didn't watch the show. There are a few points that almost all people are gonna point out when criticizing this anime, and this range from the power scales being off, the power friendship defeating the majority of the villains, sacrifices not being irrelevant at all, and there are some others that I don't really want to point out because I found out at that point people were just finding other irrelevant things to make people hate on this anime. You know, when you're trying to convince people to hate on a certain thing and you're trying as hard as you can to find less positive aspects to prove your point. That's what I felt when reading all these comments. Now, do not get me wrong, the anime does have its flaws. Some of these aspects are true, but calling this a bad or trash anime is just a pure dishonest wank that I cannot stand by. When you have more popular enemies doing the exact same mistakes but don't really get punished as much as Fairy Tail does. Now, I'm not trying to compare Fairy Tail to most popular enemies because I know that almost all of them would wipe the floor with Fairy Tail, but I think sometimes people downgrade anime because they're trying to compare it with someone else. If any of this what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, let me clarify it for you. We know that this opinion of Fairy Tail kinda shifted throughout the years. Fairy Tail was very popular anime back in the day and was one of the most talked anime for years. Taking that into consideration, we know that this anime was liked by the majority of people at the time, so there had to be a certain point where the overall opinion shifted for the worse. It just seems a bit weird to me how people say that the power of friendship is one of the major downfalls of this anime, when this was always the central theme of the anime, even when people's opinions of the show was at its peak. I do get it that it became a little bit repetitive at one point, however the anime being defeated by the power of friendship wasn't always the case. There were many times that the major characters were defeated by their enemies. The entire world was wiped out by Acnologia, for example. When this event took place, two of the main antagonists of the show make their appearance, that being Zeref and Acnologia. People were hyping these two like we've never seen before. Their major participant in the main story happened in the final arc. They did appear before, but their major action came within this arc. So, after many years of wait, we finally reached it, the final arc. This is where people's opinion and their negative aspects of the show hit its climax. Because the two most awesome villains of the show were defeated kinda out of nowhere by the power of friendship, when Acnologia was immune to magic and Zeref was defeated also the same way, and Makarov was implied to die while using very low, which ended up not happening. So the main negative aspects of people mentioning, we see it all happening in the same arc, and since the final arc was the shortest of them all and kinda rushed, these negative aspects stood out the most. There are some other points that people mention in this arc, like Katarina being one-shot by Acnologia, but I see that more to show how powerful Acnologia actually was, but I guess people want to see more of Katarina, and that's okay. Now, as a Fairy Tail fan, I do understand some of these feelings, or there are some really good fights in this final arc. Seeing almost all of Fairy Tail's characters who were once enemies come out together to defeat these villains was just awesome. Ersa and Wendy Vesharin was awesome too. Wendy also gets really good development in this arc in my opinion, and speaking of which, I don't see people talking about this enough, but the way they write female characters in Fairy Tail is one of a few things you don't see in other shonen of this kind. There isn't a single female character that people hate, like Sakura for example, so you kinda get attached to most of these characters in the show despite lacking more or less of some, but each one kinda shines in its own way. You actually care for the characters because they're all supportive towards each other, and this was always the central theme of this anime. In my head, people made a final judgment of Fairy Tail based on this final arc. The more I look into it, the less and less this makes sense. An anime shouldn't be judged by the final arc who had 52 episodes or something like that. I did mention at the beginning of the video that Fairy Tail was punished for doing some mistakes that other popular animes make. This is where the final arc of Naruto Shippuden comes to my head. I say it more and more time, I'm not comparing Naruto to Fairy Tail. Obviously I know that Naruto is a better anime by a long shot. I've not seen one single person that liked the idea of Mother being killed the way he was and Kaguya was introduced. Yet for some reason, it seems like it was nothing as a whole regarding to people's opinion about this anime, Naruto. Yes, people do complain about that arc, but no one trash talked the anime because of it, so in my head I'm thinking, why with Fairy Tail is it different? That comes with Fairy Tail being a less popular anime, you know. Now, the sacrifices in Fairy Tail kinda comes in vain, and this is one thing that people complain. I don't really get bothered by that, because I don't really get mad for people not dying I got really mad when Neji died the way he was. I think it was a disrespect towards his character. Whitebeard and Ace in One Piece also died, but it was almost in vain because their main objective wasn't accomplished, which was to save Ace. But I will stop reviewing on other enemies because I'm gonna get a ton of hate for that. But I think people kinda need these comparisons to know they're not 100% correct, and in the world there's nothing perfect, and Veritel is no different. Every enemy has its flaws, and yeah, in this particular case, Veritel is just another one. Now, I do get it that it's not because other enemies make some mistakes, you automatically have the right to do the same, but you know the point where I'm getting. But all that to say that Veritel is an awesome, fun anime with tons of cool characters, even the favelas are fun, and you feel more invested in the characters. Soundtrack is awesome, the protagonist Natsu is the best, he has the perfect traits of a main character, and everybody feels inspired by him, even though he's a goofball. You could say it's a dumb fun anime and you just have to enjoy it. Now, I did not make this video to change your opinion or something like that, but rather to make new people new to the anime realize that they kinda have a shot of seeing Veritel and like it, despite the overall opinion not being so positive. Yeah, that's my goal for this video, and I see people trash talk Veritel a lot, and I don't really think that it deserves this kind of treatment. I hope you liked this video, let me know your opinion in the comment section. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I see you next time. Bye bye.